YouTube. Last week, once again, America and the rest of the world was shocked by another terroristic act, the Boston Marathon bombing. Lots of things are going on right now regarding the investigation, but one thing for sure, people got hurt and killed. Shit hits the fan when you least expect it. In this case, medics and ambulances are on hold during the said event. But some circumstances, if not most, it's just you and ordinary people around. So my thought is, you should have some sort of medical kit with you all the time. I have my first aid kit with me when I go up in the mountains or backpacking or doing other stuff. And I also have my trauma kit with me when I go to the range practicing some drills. But I'm still working on some of the items here, and I'll tell you why later on. But eventually I'll make a video on both medical kits soon. But what I'm going to show you right now is my EDC trauma kit, and the reason why I decided to carry it and make it part of my everyday carry system is because of the story that I'm going to tell you. Last year I attended a funeral of a brother of a close friend, and his wife, my best friend as well. And right after the burial, we stayed a little while outside near the entrance of the cemetery because it was raining that day. It was an old cemetery, and outside are candle vendors. At the same time, they were also making candles there. And there's also this old man sitting on a stool near the concrete wall of the cemetery. So while we were talking, we heard a hard slam, and next thing we saw, the old man was on the ground because he got off balance and hit his head on the concrete wall. Then blood was pouring on his head and on his shirt because he really hit his head hard. And I rushed on his side, but I realized I don't have anything to put pressure on the wound. At this point, there were blood already on the ground as well. So I took off my jacket and decided to take off my shirt to use as bandage. When my best friend Yan Yan saw what I was doing, she handed me her handkerchief instead. And a lady vendor also handed me a piece of cloth. So I used it to put pressure on the wound to stop the bleeding. I didn't care if I had blood on my hands. My goal was to stop the bleeding, and in a few minutes it worked. But the old man was a bit in shock as he lost ounces of blood. So I asked the vendor if the old man has relatives in the area so they could bring him to the hospital. They told me all they know was the old man stays there all the time by himself. They don't know him personally, but they feed him sometimes. And they also assured me that they will take care of him. So in the end, we went home, rest assured that the old man was safe. Then that was it. So now I carry an EDC trauma kit every day. It gives me an option to do something for myself, my family, or someone else in a situation. If you notice, I also label it or for others to know what it is right away. I started carrying this on my backpack starting last January. That's about 4 months now. And what I have inside are 3 pieces of 4x4 sterile gauze. Ideally it's for cleaning and dressing wounds, but I will use it to stop the bleeding, maybe fold it together with this feminine pad as my blood stopper. The reason why I'm using these instead of a combat gauze or any blood stopping pads is the availability of the items here in our country. There's no combat gauze, Israeli bandage, chest seal, even decent tourniquet and other medical trauma items available here right away. You have to order them outside the country, and and not to mention the cost when it gets here. All you can get from pharmacy here in our country are basic medical first aid items. So I have to improvise. I also have a daughter who's turning 12 this coming June, and in case of a minor emergency she needs a feminine pad, then I have one. And what I also have here is a 2 inches elastic bandage that I'll use to put pressure on a wound. And if it's a head wound, it's easier to tie it with this elastic bandage. You can also use this to secure eyes if you sprain some ankle or something. And a pair of gloves to protect yourself from other people's blood with a Ziploc container for proper disposal after use. For my tourniquet, I'll probably use a scarf or eventually a triangular bandage if I could find one and incorporate it here. Like I said, the availability of items is a factor in this side of the planet, so I'll just settle with what I have because blood loss is one major reason for the cause of death, and prevention or preparedness is the key. So make your own EDC or everyday trauma kit right now and don't make any excuses. So that's it. Thanks for viewing and stay safe.